said on air from the chair. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Tell all your friends so the show can grow. Take a break and crack a smile while I entertain you for a while. On air from the chair. I said on air from the chair. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, On Air from the Chair with your host, Big Mike. I tell you what, my guest today, I am super excited about. The story that he's going to share, I think will, inspire you. He was able to overcome so much and continues to pay it forward even up to today. So I have so much respect for him sharing his journey. Because it takes a lot of guts to put your life out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited and humbled to have Seth Oswald on the show with me. So, Seth, thank you for daring to take the chair. Welcome to the show, bud.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm super excited to learn so much about you because a lot of my guests up until now, I've known or, through someone else I've known. And so you and I think we've seen each other maybe one time in our lives, but so we're really interested. So for us to just kind of get acquainted, why don't we start with just the basics? Kind of where you grew up, where you're from, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, man. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio,
Okay.
and actually I still reside here in the area. And I have 3 siblings. I have a sister, I have an older brother, then it goes myself, and then I have a sister, and then
You're the middle child.
So yeah, I'm the middle child. and we're all 2 years apart. We're all summer birthdays.
Oh, wow.
So my parents, it must have got a little cold for them in the fall, winter time.
They're very scheduled people.
That's right. They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this is where I grew up. Grew up with my siblings. Most of my family's here too. Cousins, grandparents were here.
Oh, wow.
Aunts, uncles. Yeah, everybody kind of just stayed in this area.
Yeah.
I went to Maumee High School.
Okay.
And now I went away to school for a little bit. Went to Miami University, and I came back here, and now I live in Maumee with my wife and my 2 kids.
Oh, that is too cool. So being from the Toledo area, I do have to ask you one thing. Are you a Buckeye or are you the other team up north?
Buckeye, man. That's a great.
Okay. I was going to end the interview right now if it was the other way around.
I know, right? I can't
I don't know if you saw my water.
Dude, let's go, man. Let's go.
Yeah, no, Dallas has a pretty big Buckeye contingent down here, so it's pretty easy to be a fan pretty much anywhere in the United States for them. But I just know Toledo's one of those torn towns where I get if someone had allegiance to it because of the proximity and everything. But I had to make sure before we continued the interview.
That's right. You're right. It is so polarized here, man. Like it is a 50-50 split.
Yeah. Well, no, they even have a store up there, don't they? Where half the store is Buckeyes and then half the store is the other team.
Yep. Yes, it is. Yes,
that is too funny. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, my sister and my brother-in-law had lived up there for a long time. You know what I mean? And in Perrysburg, just outside of Toledo. So very familiar with the area. Just a great place to raise a family for sure. And now you're married and have kids and stuff?
Yes. So I've been married to my beautiful wife, Sam. We celebrated 4 years in August. We have 2 boys.
Oh, wow.
His name is Atticus, and he just turned 2 years old in September. And then we have a 6-month-old, and that is Oakland. He's another boy. He just turned 6 months here just a few weeks ago, actually.
Now, are their birthdays in the summer? And 2 years apart.
Yeah, right.
You're following the family tradition, right?
Right. I can't, we can't help it. Just can't help it. We do have, I guess they're called Irish twins when you have kids under 2, right? 2 under 2. And so, a lot of fun.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show was you were nominated to take the chair by someone who knows you. And I reached out and we had a great conversation. So, to me, what this show is all about, or what I'm trying to do with this podcast, is the whole theory is to find the extraordinary in each and every one of us. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be a celebrity. You don't have to be a sports star. It's the single mom at the grocery store raising 3 kids. It's I had a 19-year-old kid on who was diagnosed with leukemia, and fought it and had a bone marrow transplant. He's cancer free today, and actually finds out his donor here in about I think it's another week or something. So really excited about that. So I think with all the negative news that's out there, what I'm trying to find is not necessarily cookie cutter stories to share with people, but just what makes someone extraordinary. Even if it's from something that bad that happened to you, and you can get to somewhere around there where so if you don't mind, share a little bit about your story with my listener.
Yeah. So as you already know, I grew up with some siblings, grew up in Maumee, Toledo area. And in school, friends and sports came easy for me in
Sure.
school. And that was something that just really came easy for me. And so with having some friends, I wasn't always the best at probably picking some of the best friends. I'm not blaming friends for this at all, because I had
Sure.
the and I would say somewhere between like 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade, I really was that teenage kid that just wanted to live my own life. I thought, I didn't really like authority. I was very rebellious, very
Hmm.
just arrogant, prideful, and but very insecure at the same time. And so my parents drug us to church every Sunday, and I just thought that was the dumbest thing you could
Hmm.
ever do. It was a waste of time. And so I never felt like I really belonged at church, but I always felt like I belonged at school. And like
Hmm.
friends and sports, like I said, were my identity. Anyways, with that being said, I remember in about the end of 8th grade, I was introduced to marijuana. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's try it. And so I started smoking weed when I was about 13, 14 years old. And I remember I didn't get high for the first time, but like a couple more times in, when I did, I just remember falling in love with it. It was just
Yeah.
like, man, this is what I'm missing. Like, and this is awesome. This is fun. Like, this is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I just dove right in. I dove right in. And so with smoking pot, obviously started experimenting with other things and just being around
Hmm.
that lifestyle. So I started drinking and popping prescription medication. Um, and just using psychedelics, just trying to get whatever I could get my hands on, even like drinking bottles of Robitussin, like just stupid things that I would
Right.
do
Right.
any extreme to try to get high or to
Yeah.
go.
So was it a situation where you were kind of, okay, so I understand how I feel when I'm on marijuana. How else can I feel on something else? It's that desire of, well, maybe that can even take me to another level.
You're absolutely right, man. And so sophomore year in high school, my dad had back surgery, and he had a slip disc, and it was a pretty serious surgery that he had to get done. So he was prescribed Percocet and Oxycontin.
Mm.
And I remember I was popping some of his Percocets. Like, I was a chronic weed smoker by the time. Like, I'm smoking weed every single day before and after school. Like, it's just
Sure.
kind of what I did. If I could get away with doing it in school, I would. But I
Yeah.
started popping some Percocets, and then I remember one night at dinner, we were all sitting around together as a family at dinner, and my dad was like, I can't take the other pills that they gave me because they messed me up so bad.
Hmm.
That was a brilliant idea in my brain. I'm like, well, I got to try these.
Right.
And
Yeah.
lo and behold, they were Oxycontin. And
Mm.
I didn't know anything really about Oxycontin at the time. Nothing.
Sure.
And the first time that I ended up taking them, they were 20 milligram pills, and I dumped them in my hand, and there's like 3 that fell in my hand, and I just popped them just like nothing, because I've been eating
Jeez.
Percocet for like the last month, and he was
Yeah.
just big bottles of them. And as I'm sitting there brushing my teeth in the morning, getting ready to go, off to this like family vacation that we were on. We were up in Frankenmuth, Michigan. I was like, man, I don't know. Those were like pretty small. I think I should do more. And I just popped a couple more in my hand, popped them,
Oh
went
no.
about our day. And about an hour later, they kicked in. And that was my first overdose when I
No.
was a
Wow.
sophomore in high school, off of Oxycontin. Had to be brought back, rushed to the hospital. And I was just like, oh, just a whole ordeal with the family, and got grounded. And it was like all
Now,
this stuff.
was that their first time catching you doing something like that?
First time catching me with harder stuff. So they did catch me my freshman year of high school with weed.
Okay.
But when it came to the pills,
Right.
that's when it started making sense with my parents of going, like, my dad especially going, oh, this is where all my pills are going.
Right.
Like, these are where everything's going. Like, this is why my Percocets are all gone.
Right.
And so I never touched opiates after that
Yeah.
until I came home. I went away to college. I still partied. I still was smoking, drinking, doing psychedelics, doing everything I could. Dibble dabbling with some cocaine in college, and then I came home from college. And over a summer break, I was at a party. This is about 4 or 5 years later. I was at a party, and somebody introduced me to OxyContin. They had OxyContin there, and I took it, and it was everything that I was missing in my life. Like, it just took everything away. It
Hmm.
fixed everything, even though, years ago I said I would never do that again.
Right.
And that just kicked it off, man. The race began,
Mm.
snowball effect. I started dibble dabbling with it like really quickly. Got the connect from the guy that was at the party, and I just started working with his drug dealer. And I was, then became like maybe a couple times a week, to then every day I was going to this guy and I was picking up
Mm.
pills off
Yeah.
him. And it happened pretty quickly.
How much was your daily habit, like money wise?
Yeah, at first it was probably about $20, maybe,
Yeah.
like $20 would last me a while, for several days. And then towards the end of it with oxys, it was about a 300 to 500. I mean, I know that's a vast number, but it was about a $300 to $500 a day for oxys. Now this is
Wow.
back, let me rate this back. This is back 11, 12, 13 years ago now.
Sure.
And this is before the big pharma switched OxyContin into where they would gel up, because they started finding out, man, there's a lot of street value to these, obviously.
Yeah.
Grinding them down and snorting them, or people are grinding them down and shooting, melting them down and shooting them up with a
Wow.
needle,
Yeah.
IV using. And so this was before that time. And so there were about anywhere, an 80 milligram pill is what I would find, which we call the big boys. We would get probably anywhere, I think it was like around $50 a pill,
Geez,
for an
yeah.
80 milligram then. And so I was doing probably about 6 a day towards the
Yeah.
end of my came to those.
6
And I
a
wasn't,
day.
yep, 6 a day. And at that time, I wasn't popping them anymore. I was grinding them down and I was snorting them. So
Mm.
it was 6 of them bad boys up my nostrils.
Hmm. Straight to the bloodstream.
Straight through it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Lord. Yeah. No, it's, so during this time, as you're getting further and further into it, I mean, was there an internal struggle with you at that point yet? Or was it like, no, I'm doing what I want to do and this makes me feel great?
Man, it's a great question. I remember specifically, I was driving home from just copping some pills, and it was I was starting to do it on a daily habit, and I just had this moment. And I think I just got high, but I specifically remember, man, I was on Airport Highway driving back after copping, and I just remember having this thought of going like, okay, I could probably stop now,
Hmm.
or I can just keep on going. And I
Mm.
remember having that conscious decision right there alone in my car. I said, I'm just going to keep on going.
Yeah.
There was this internal thing, like this insanity piece of it, where it was like I was still in control. But I
Right.
think in that moment, I've already lost some control.
Hmm.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did it get the worst for you?
Yeah. I think before I did oxys, I was when I told you coming back from that party, I was just in a very dark place.
Yeah.
I just got like suspended from school because I was selling weed at school, and
Hmm.
I kept getting arrested, got my door kicked in, got raided, and like just a lot was going on. And so like I was just kind of depressed. I was on probation at the time. And so like when I did oxys, when I came home that summer, it was like, this fixed me. Like I don't have to worry about anything. Like, man, this is
Right.
who I be. Like I feel great. So like in a sense, there was already lost control even before I started picking up the Oxycontin. But
Sure.
it got really bad for me when I was just running out of money. I couldn't function without getting high.
Yeah.
I was living with my parents at the time. I was working a job, but my parents, living with them, and some of my siblings, my youngest brother and my younger sister, they were the first victims. I lived
Mm.
with them. So I pawned all my stuff off, started reselling it so that I could pick up some dope, and then I would start stealing from them.
Hmm.
And so that's when it was okay, there's definitely something, it's getting bad, like it's starting to get bad.
Right.
And it just continued to snowball from there. That was probably the first signs,
Yeah.
when I was just stealing and pawning everything off.
Yeah.
That's when I
So,
really
so, there's certain things. I didn't do Oxycontin and stuff like that, but there's things, give me a Rice Krispie treat, I can't put it down. Right.
yeah,
So, all the way down to those little minutia things, but we all have those feelings, you know what I mean? And so, the struggle of saying, hey, I know this is getting out of hand, but I can't control how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Like I need this because it's going to be worse if I don't get it.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
man. I just couldn't function. I couldn't do what normal people do. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't use the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Just the things that take for granted today, I guess, that I can do. I just couldn't function as a normal person. My body literally would not function, and I had to
Yeah.
get right before anything. And that was the thing. That's how it was. It was like, you're getting high to get right, and then after high, I'm like, okay, how am I going to get I'm already thinking about how can I get my next fix.
Right.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
it was bad, man. It was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. So, what happened that helped you finally make that turn? You know what I mean? What was there an incident? Was it, hitting rock? You hear rock bottom, right?
Sure.
Or something happened to you. You found somebody, and you're like, I want to change for myself, or was it other people supporting you? What do you think ultimately brought you around the corner?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, the first time it was a friend actually of mine came to my parents' house and was like, "Hey, Seth is like heavily addicted to OxyContin.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna die. Like he's gonna die. I've already overdosed. Like that. I've already had an overdose. But like when I overdose, you just think you're. I don't know. For me, it was like I'm unstoppable. Like that just happened. I'm alive. Like I'm great. I'll never do that again. But then
Right.
that may last 12 hours, and then I'm back out getting high again.
Right. Well, and plus you're young. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you think you're invincible when you're young anyway.
You're totally right. Absolutely, man. And so it was a friend that came actually to my parents' house because I was actually still living with him, believe it or not. And just said that to him, like, hey, Seth's gonna die. Like he's heavily addicted to Oxycontin. They're like, okay, I mean, we knew something was up, but we didn't know. So that was the first time I went into a detox facility. They approached
Okay.
me. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll go. I think I had some legal trouble too at the time. Like there was something going on with like some theft or something. But um, I ended up going to detox my first time in 2010.
Okay.
I got involved in AA. That's when I realized at this detox, I was there for about 11 days, that I had a problem. That, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I probably have a problem. Like this is bigger than me. So I got involved with AA, started working 12 steps, got a sponsor. And that worked for about 3 months. And
Mm-hmm.
then I ended up moving back in my parents' house at the time. And then that worked about 3 months. And then I relapsed. I picked right back up because things were going good. Relationship with my family was good. I'm holding a job with the tree service.
Right.
Things are good, man. So I'm in control again.
That's
And,
right.
I'm going to go
I won't.
celebrate.
I won't let it get as bad as it was before. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'll just a little bit.
That's
Take
right.
the edge off.
And I'm going to go celebrate. And so this time when I went to go celebrate, Oxycontins were already gelled up by the time.
Mm,
And this is when I was introduced to heroin.
mm,
And so then my relationship with heroin began.
mm.
And it was cheaper. It was easier to use. And so I started picking up, I didn't snort it anymore. I was an IV user. And so that just ended up, and I mean, literally from when I stopped using 3 or 4 months prior to that, and when I picked up drugs, like it was literally like I started right where I left off.
Mm.
Like, yeah, my tolerance wasn't as high, but I mean, within a day or two, like it was already back up mentally, the emotional, the spiritual, or whatever, of everything going on. Like I was right back where I left off.
You're right.
And so rock bottom, I still had lower to go. And I
Yeah.
kept going.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard thing is it's that, that, uh, that hunger, I mean, you just can't feed it enough to get it to say, I'm leveled off, because there's always that other plateau you can go to. And it's just it's a beast that feeds itself. You know what I mean? And before you know it, yeah, and I keep liking it to really trivial things, compared to what you went through, but it's, you know, the weight is so easy to put on, but it's so hard to get off. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so I can eat right for a month. I bet, you know what, I can have one cheat day. Next thing I know, I'm eating a whole pizza myself and finishing off with some Rice Krispie treats. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just, it's nuts how the brain works.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's true. And that was it, man. The beast was, you know, the obsession was back. It was in control. And it was full on. It was full blown. And I started dating a girl. And so, you know, and I unfortunately introduced her to some drugs and
Hmm.
introduced her to heroin. And man, we were like Bonnie and Clyde. I mean, we were Bonnie and Clyde running around. And now I have 2 mouths to feed, not just my own. And so then became my relationship where I started dealing with a guy up in Detroit, Michigan, who was a pretty big dealer at the time. And he introduced me to this stuff called China White, and it was China heroin. And so then I started just buying bulk of him from him. And I thought, well, hey, you know what? I guess what could help support our habit and we get high as we just sell this stuff. And so, I mean,
Hmm.
there was a market. I mean, it was booming. And so we started stepping on it, cutting it, and trying to make a little bit more so that we could make it go further. And, you know, it was purely so we could get high.
Right.
And I mean, obviously that all runs out. You can't have enough, you know, enough's never enough. And so we had
Sure.
all run out. But through that, man, I was in and out of continued rehabs, psych wards, overdosed multiple times, brought back to life. I mean, I even tried overdosing, tried killing myself. Like I was convinced I had enough dope and to do it. And I
Mm.
was actually in a Speedway bathroom in February when it was snowing really heavily here in Ohio. And
Oh,
I was convinced it was it. And it was like in the middle of the night, went in there, dude, I fell out and I woke up and it's like, I couldn't even kill myself. You know, it's
no.
like, God, dude, it's like, this is crazy. Failure, man. And
Somebody's trying to tell you something, Seth.
yeah, right. And I just couldn't see it though, you
You're
know.
right.
And, I was so deep into it and just in and out of sober living houses and detox facilities and
Yeah.
rehabs. And my life went to a stereotypical junkie. Like I was the stereotypical guy on the street, living on the street at the time.
Yeah.
And you know, it was in December. I actually just got picked up outside the dope house. My ex-girlfriend was running in to cop some dope, and I was sitting outside the dope house, and a paddy wagon and a patrol car pulled up on me. And I mean, I was busted. I had stuff on me. I had paraphernalia, you know, I had it all.
Yeah.
And so they arrested me at the time, and I went to jail. And this was in December of 2000, December of 2009. And I've already been to jail multiple times with multiple offenses.
Hmm.
And you know, being in the courtroom or being in the system is not new. You know, I have had that.
Sure.
They locked me up, and I got out, and I had nowhere to go after I got out. First place I went to was the dope house because that's where I knew where I could go.
Sure.
I wanted to do. And it's December, towards the end of December at the time after I got out, and I was living on the street, man. I was living in
Mm.
downtown Toledo. Couldn't even go into Cherry Street really anymore, which is a mission here in
Okay.
Toledo. I wasn't even able to go to the missions anymore because I got kicked out just because of continued drug paraphernalia on me or sneaking in drugs and getting caught. And they just like put me on the ban list.
Sure.
So man, I was living under the high level bridge
Mm.
in December, January. So, you know, it's not so in Ohio. It's not, you know, it's not like, you know,
It's cold.
yeah,
It's
it's
cold.
cold,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Listen, to be on the streets is nothing to laugh about at anywhere. But you know, there's you know, here in Texas, it's only cold 2 months out of the year. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's where I found myself. And
Yeah.
I hit it. And I didn't, you know, I was at this crossroad again where it's a very scary place to be. Where I like couldn't see myself going the way that I was going anymore,
Uh-huh.
living the life that I was living. But at the same time, I couldn't see myself living without the drug.
Yeah.
And it was just a very, very scary place to be. And
Sure.
so, man, it got to like crazy stuff, just like, well, maybe I'll just go kill somebody, you know, maybe I'll just like shoot my girlfriend, go shoot the dope dealer.
Right.
And you know, maybe two murderers will put me in prison for life because I know I could get sober in a, you know, in a
Oh, you could get food, you can get
yeah,
shelter, you can get clothing. Yeah,
right, and
all that.
institutionalized, you know, I could you know, it's something that's like that, I could probably get sober and
Mm.
stay sober and be locked up because I don't want to keep really doing what I'm doing.
Right.
So it was just a very, very dark place. Very, very dark place. And I actually had a friend who I met the first time in detox. Um, come find me, really, reach out to me. And he was like, dude, it's time. He literally just sent me a text. He just said, it's time. And I
It's
was just
time.
at that place where I was just like, it's time.
Yeah.
And so he ended up picking me up and he took me to the Salvation Army.
Okay.
And the Salvation Army, I'm like, you talking about the thrift store? Like, I didn't know that they had
Right.
a rehabilitation center, especially in Toledo.
Sure.
So I ended up going in and checking in. That was Tuesday, January 17th of 2012. And I walked in, same clothes I was wearing probably for the last 3 months, just stumbled in, high as a kite, but I got one last boost before going in.
Before
And
going in.
that's where my journey with sobriety, my journey with the Lord began. And so I walked in that Tuesday and I still was debating on whether I was going to leave or not. You know, I still just like, even though I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go in, I just still really wasn't ready. I mean, I was in the darkest spot, you know, in my life. And, you know, after I got out of jail, like I said, that month prior in December, the detectives came and they're like, dude, we have so much on you. Like you're going to go to prison. Like you're
Right.
gonna. And just accepting that, I'm just like, man, you know, and once, you know, coming to find out I was facing 8 to 12 years in prison.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time, but
Sure.
I came in, checked in the Salvation Army, and I'm sitting there across the counselor, and he's like, do you have any like warrants or anything out for your arrest? I'm like, that's funny, man. I was like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe. I just remember some detectives visited me in jail like a month ago, and he called him, and there was a what the heck are those called? Not a most wanted warrant, but there was a warrant out for my arrest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I missed a court date apparently that I had set. And I mean, they, you know, the cops told me everything. Like,
Oh, so it was like a bench warrant or something like that?
no, it was on
No.
like you know, not the most wanted list, but
Right.
marshal list. It was on I was on the most wanted for marshals in town because I had
Oh,
several
geez.
high felonies that I missed court for.
Yeah.
And so anyways, over the phone, which he was like, they never do this, but they waived my warrants. They reset my court date for even just sitting in there. And I'm sitting here debating whether I'm going to stay or not.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, they completely wiped everything and reset my court date. And so anyway, man, I stayed, and there was actually a guy off the street that was in there at the time, and he was 90 days sober. And so like I ran into him that night, and I was like, man, this is, you know, that encouraged me. So that
Yeah.
kind of helped me go, okay, maybe, you know, gave me
Right.
some hope. And I'm like, maybe, you know, I could get sober, or maybe I can do this. Not even thinking about getting sober, just doing this, you know.
Yeah.
And then the night came and detox started kicking in. And I'm like, oh man, I just debated on going. I couldn't sleep that night.
Yeah.
I had to work. Salvation Army, it's a work-in facility. And so I had to work that next morning, just debating the whole time I'm in there, like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna stay. Like, I really don't know if I'm gonna stay.
Yeah.
And it was that evening, Mike. It was a Wednesday night. We went down to this thing called, it was the Vespa or Vespis. And it was like a church service almost.
Okay.
And at this time, I am very much a bounce back and forth from an agnostic to an atheist. And
Sure.
yeah, but I didn't want anything to do with any type of higher power or spirituality or anything whatsoever, you know, in that sense. And I
Yeah.
just didn't believe in it. Just depends on when you would talk to me. We're standing in this church service, and there's this song we're singing. It's like a praise and worship, and I have no idea what song it was. And I'm sitting in the back, and I just remember in this moment, sometime during that song, it was like I felt this like fullness that I had, that no high, no drug, no alcohol, no sex, no rock and roll, no Oreo milkshakes, no cigars that
Yeah.
have ever given me in my life. Like this fullness that I got to experience, but also like this feeling of like the things I've been doing and like what the life I've been living, like just this, I don't even know how to explain it, but like, and in that moment, I just knew it was Lord Jesus Christ meeting me in that room. And I just remember falling to my knees, and I was crying, and feeling full, but also like a piece of crap. It's such a weird dynamic. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it.
Yeah.
And I just remember in that time just going, okay, God, like, if this is if this is you, then okay. And I just like said that, like whispered that, like in a trem, like I didn't have money, I was sick and I was feeling great, it was just, and then right after I said that, guys in the program who I didn't even know, like there's 60 dudes in this program,
Yeah.
come up to me and they're just patting me on the back. And not all of them, I don't know how many it was, but I just remember them saying like, stick and stay, man. Stick and stay, dude. Wait till the miracle happens. Wait till the miracle happens. And I'm just like bawling, like
Oh my,
losing it.
I got
And
goosebumps right now.
yeah, man,
So
like,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
dude,
awesome.
just losing it,
Yeah.
and felt this fullness and this wholeness that I just can't even explain. And I think then in that moment there was that mentality for me where I just made that decision of going, okay, I'm gonna stick it. I'm gonna stick it out, like however long, at least for today, I'm gonna stick it out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Fight today, win today. I mean, it's an old one step at a time. I mean, it's very cliche, but it really is fighting it hour by hour. I'd like that first night where you're detoxing, and I mean, I've never been through it. I've only seen it in movies and stuff like that. But I mean, from people that I know that have done it, you just feel like absolute death,
Mm.
and just the pain that's involved with it, and everything else, and it really plays with your mind of, man, well, this isn't worth it if I'm going to feel like this. And you're thinking all the time, and then to have a moment like that in the chapel, or wherever you guys were for that service, I mean, you gave me absolutely goosebumps listening to it.
It's wild, man. Yeah, it's wild, dude. And it's just a reminder for me of, man, I don't know, man. If it was up to me, it'd still be out there, It's still
Yeah.
probably out there, which, and that's the thing of living with addiction, is that is me though, like
Sure.
the addiction side is me, and the sober side is me. And so it's dealing with it, and
Yeah.
I love it.
So
I wouldn't have it any other way.
yeah. Yeah. So moving on now. So how do you go about on a daily basis? Do you still have that daily decision to make of, hey, I'm going to walk the right line. I'm going to, focus on, and let God lead my way, or is it, or has it just become that for you, or is it a
Yeah,
daily conscious effort of yours?
absolutely. Yeah, I'd say it's both.
Hmm.
It's still there. It's definitely still there. I was just having a conversation with a lady, and she was telling me about her son and how he overdosed and got high. And this was just 2 weeks ago, man. And I remember thinking, first thought that went in my head was, dang, where was that stuff when I was out there?
Oh yeah.
Like it's still there. Like it's
Yeah.
still a part of me.
Sure.
And like what I love is to struggle forward, and like, so I think the further I've gone from the absence of using, maybe like, just, I don't want to say that more I forget like how it was, or the easier it is. I don't even want to say that either, but
Sure.
it is, man. It is the conscious decision every day.
Hmm.
I'm not biting at my teeth or biting at my nails. Like, gosh, I don't want to get high today. Like the obsession is gone, which is great, but all that's still there. That I call it stinking thinking is still there. The dreams, I'll get dreams of using, just like even casual using, like drinking at a party or something like that. Like, it's
Right.
just like, so it is still there. And I look at that as an opportunity of just going like, this is where I can't rely on myself. Like I obviously have to rely on something greater than myself, because I mean, drug addiction is greater than myself. Like it is
Right.
a beast that I can't control. It controls me. And so therefore I need something that is greater than drug addiction. And that's really been my personal relationship with God and the Lord, and leaning into that. I have a great accountability group, and so when I do have those thoughts or those dreams or just anything like that, man, I just have a place where I can go and I can share it with people, because I have to. There
Right.
is this fear of like, I don't want to pick up because I know who that guy is. I know who
Yeah.
that is, and I don't want that. I don't want that life
Oh
anymore.
yeah. Well, and especially now you got a beautiful wife and kids, and you know what I mean. So it's you start living for others as well as yourself,
Absolutely.
making the right decision. So wait, what are you doing nowadays? Like as far as work and stuff like that, what are you up to these days?
Yeah. So I'm a pastor at a church here.
Okay.
Uh, I'm a pastor here. I work in adult ministries, and so I actually get to oversee our Celebrate Recovery, which is our recovery program, our
Yeah.
small groups, and then also some of our adult serving teams. And so I get to be a pastor here. I volunteer my time still at the Salvation Army with working with some of the guys who are coming
Sure.
into the program. And just sponsoring them, taking them to meetings, lunch, coffee, whatever they need. So just having that relationship there where I'm helping somebody, but really, in turn, like, it's crazy. Like, I think they help me more than I help them,
Oh yeah.
and just kind of part of how that is. And just staying involved. Like, I just stay involved with people, trying to give back as much as I can, serve as much as I can, get out of myself, that whole piece.
Hmm.
Growing in my relationship with God. So I have personal meditation, prayer, journaling, that I really try to hang on to as much
Hmm.
as I can. I just really try to hold that as much as I can, and with life getting busy for me, I know when life gets busy, it's like the things that are good for me are usually the first things that go on my
Right.
schedule, so it's like that personal time, that meditation, checking in with a sponsor or my accountability group, or
Yeah.
spending time with my wife, quality time, my kids. Like, it's like as my schedule gets bigger, it's like these are what suffer first, and sucks.
Right.
It's
No,
reality.
yeah, no, it's a constant struggle, and I was trying to think of, so it's, I mean, it's been 10 years, 10 years and 8 months, or whatever it's been,
Yeah,
since you're, so are you still friends with that friend that came and got you and said, hey, dude, it's time to go?
I am. Yeah,
Are you?
yes, I am. Yeah, we're still really good friends. I know his wife and his kids. Yep,
That's
we stay in
awesome.
touch. And he knows, my family. But yes, yep, we're very close.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
still very good.
and
Go ahead.
to be able to, share your story, the hopes of doing something like this is that someone hears this that really needs it. You know what I mean? And so I grew up Catholic. You know what I mean? And so I went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school. I even went to military college, so I was very structured through my schooling. And as an adult, I moved away from the church a bit. You know what I mean? And I've always believed in God, but I felt like, well, I don't need a vessel. You know what I mean? My relationship is here. You know what I mean? I don't need someone else helping me do it.
Yeah.
And the whole Catholicism thing of, the way the priest was set up and stuff. It wasn't until I got to Texas where we ended up going to a church around here called Hope Fellowship, and the pastor there blew me away
Mm.
because he was an average guy. Like, it was just like, he can relate to me. Like, he can say, okay, here's the scripture and here's what it actually means. You know what I mean? Like here's how you can equate it to today, and how I deal with my wife, how I deal with my kids, and I'm flawed. You know what I mean? I'm not this supreme being. So it really gave me renewed hope. And so for someone like yourself, I mean, that's what I love about where we've gone with worship these days, is that it's about, being available for the people to find you that need that type of interaction, because I've learned so much more about it than I did for my, you know 18 years of growing up in the Catholic calisthenics on Sundays.
Mm. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So how big is your church out there?
So I'd say we're probably around 6,000
Oh
right now,
wow.
attendees that we have on average.
Hmm.
COVID changed a lot of things. I mean, it
Sure.
changed a lot of things for everybody, and especially for the church realm. But
Yeah.
so we're about 6,000, and we have 6 locations.
Oh wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
all around Toledo?
all around the Toledo area, and then we have one down in Finley, which is about an hour from here. But
Sure.
yeah, relatively all close.
Yeah. And do they do remote services at the satellite, or does each church be self-contained
So
parishioners and stuff?
good question. It changes. Mostly what we'll do is it'll be from one location where they'll do the teaching will be live from one
Hmm.
location. will be satellite to everything, but everything else will be live. So the
Sure.
music, the worship, announcements or whatever we got going on.
Yeah.
All of that is separate. But
Uh,
and then every once in a while they give it to the campus so that the pastors at the campus can preach, and several weekends of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, it's
Oh,
broadcasted out.
that is awesome. So I am going to ask you one question, kind of just off topic, because I ask everybody the question, and I really don't know why. I just like people's answers to it, because again, I don't prepare anybody for these things, and so see how quick you are, Seth. But if a movie was made about your life, and who would star as the leading actor of Seth? Like, who would be the actor that plays the leading role of you? And what would the title of the movie be?
Hmm, It's a great question. So I've been told by several people I can, depending on the beard or the way I look, maybe I can look like Chris Pratt every once in a while. So I
Yeah,
probably would go by that to try to make the
the
connect
looks.
the looks, right? Yeah,
Right,
the
right.
looks. He's much better looking than I am, and way more
Well,
sharper and everything else.
people always confuse me with Brad Pitt, so
I
you know
know
what I
that.
mean. It's I get it. You know.
Plus, I get, yeah. See, so you totally understand, man. You totally. And so it would be Chris Pratt, I would say, and man, title of my story or title of the movie. That's a great question. I'm thinking of like maybe The Journey or The Grand Adventure. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the Lord of the Rings right now too, so that
Yeah.
could be it. Like
Okay.
I'm rewatching and reading the books, and
Right.
so maybe The Grand Adventure because it really has been an adventure.
Yeah, and it,
Uh,
and so what I'll kind of sum it up with is I'm a firm believer that uh, there are no coincidences. You know what I mean? It's as I'm in the weeds and I'm going through something, I may not understand it, but my faith is that once I get through it, I'll understand why I went through that journey. You know what I mean? And so, I'm married to a beautiful woman. I've got two kids. They're in college. Um, and as I was going through my journey to get there, there were times in my life I'm going, what am I doing? Like, why, why is my life this hard? But this led me to that, which led me to this, which ultimately led me to where I was supposed to be, which is now and today. And I'll have more issues and journeys to go through in the future. But having that faith of understanding that even when I'm lost and I'm wondering why it's happening to me now, I have that faith that I know that in the future, I'll come to the understanding of why I had to go through that to get to where I'm at. So, to me, your journey encapsulates that so much. And again, I can't tell you how humbled I am for you to come on and share it with me, and how much respect I have for you, and the chutzpah that it takes to be able to put that out there. You know what I mean? In the hopes that someone hears it and kind of, I identifies with it and understands that, hey, that end result is out there for you too.
hmm, Absolutely, man, 100%. And people people can do it. It is a reality. I think I heard this all the time, which is true, but also it's disheartening, the reality of somebody that has an addictive issue of alcoholism or drug addict. The reality is either death, institutions, or prison, or
Hmm.
jail institutions or death. And it's like, man, we rarely talk about, well, sobriety, the freedom from it, there is, and it is a beautiful journey, man. It is a beautiful journey, and it's all glory to God that I give. I mean, I'm not here because of, you know, any grand thing that I'm doing, man. I'm just a drop in the bucket, and
Sure.
and He's the one who has really brought me to where I believe where I'm at today. And so, all glory to Him, and just the people that He has put around me, and it's I call them true friends. They're
Yeah.
the guys who tell me the truth, who tell me what I don't want to hear, but what I need to hear.
Right.
And um, sobriety is possible, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So what I found is a lot of times when I'm interviewing somebody, we'll get a lot of listeners in that generalized area. So if someone is struggling, like right now, what would be your advice? Like, what would be the one step to take today? If you're listening to this somehow and you're like, you know what, this is, I need some help. What would you coach them on doing?
Yeah, that's great. I would say if they have somebody that they trust, if they know anybody that they could trust, that they could tell them. I mean, the first step is always to admit. It's always to
Hmm.
have that, like, okay, I have a problem. Like, there's
Hmm.
definitely something going on. And if you're in that place to where you're questioning whether you're an addict or not, if if you're picking up and you can't stop and you're not able to stop or you're continuing to obsess, I mean, that might be a sign. But first step is to really just to come to that admittance of like, I got something going on. And it could be to reach out to a good friend of theirs. It could be a family member, a spouse, somebody that they have, that then it would be to go get help. So it could
Hmm.
be detox facilities all over the map. I mean, they're popping up like mushrooms, like in the spring. Like there are detox facilities now, rehab facilities that are coming up. And so it would be to call one of the places. You could call a hospital.
Hmm.
Um, you could call I don't know what you could call, even 911, and even ask like if they could, even if like, I have no idea who I should call.
Sure.
You can even Google some places on your phone or on your computer and
Hmm.
see what they have. And that would be the step that I would encourage somebody to take, would be to go get help, because you
Yeah.
can't do it alone. You're going to need a safe place to be able to detox, to get rid of the drugs or alcohol, whatever's in your system, to have some people around you to do that,
Hmm.
to get away from the cycle of addiction that you've been doing, and to give yourself, to break that cycle a little bit so you can get clear headed.
Hmm.
Taking that step into some type of facility would be wonderful. And if you're like, well, I don't have insurance, I don't have a place like that, there are places that do take you without insurance.
Hmm.
uh, there are facilities that will take you in without insurance and will still give you the treatment that you need.
Yeah, yeah. It's, I mean, because I think someone just gets that point, and it's that self-worth is so low, and it's like you need to get those drugs out of your system so
Mm.
that you understand that you actually matter. You know what I mean? And you matter to loved ones around you. I don't care how alone you feel. There's someone out there that loves you. You know what I mean? And even if you can't identify him, I was telling that 19-year-old kid that had cancer. I saw his post on a Facebook thing, and I didn't know him from Adam. And I said, listen, I normally don't do this and you don't know me, but just know that there's strangers out here that are praying for you, that love you, that, know that you can do this. So, you know what I mean? Find someone that, yes, but understand that we all want you to be better and feel better and all that kind of stuff. And, God puts people in your life for a reason, and hopefully someone listens to this and really identifies with you and your story, and that gives them that hope to ultimately down the road find that faith.
Absolutely, man. And that's the thing, dude. There is hope. As long as you have air in your lungs and you're still breathing, like,
Hmm.
you can do it. You can still do it, and you can still get sober. You can still rock and roll, no matter what you've done or no matter what has been done to you. There is hope.
Right.
And through the journey, and there's so many different programs that are out there, and churches and places that, even going to your local church, if there's a local church, if you're like, there's no rehabs, stopping at a local church and seeing what they have or what they recommend. I mean, they would, hopefully, yeah, give you
Yeah.
give you the place and take you to
Yeah,
a
the
yeah,
point you in the right direction, or
in
help
the
you
right
with
direction.
some resources to find the right place. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well,
Absolutely.
so, thank you for taking time. Hell, I could sit here and talk with you for hours on end, but you've been very gracious with your time away from your family. But again, absolutely humbled to get to know you more. Look forward to continuing to get to know you. Hopefully, we can continue this off of the interviews. But just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and we'll get this thing broadcast out and try to hit as many people as we possibly can.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Mike. And thanks for letting me be on here, man, and tell the story.
Oh no, the pleasure is all my, and again, people are working at higher levels. So
Yeah.
for some reason this needed to happen.
Hey, absolutely, 100%, man. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate your platform and giving me the opportunity to share. Really, just
Absolutely.
what God is doing. So it's pretty awesome.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, how about that episode? Seth, thank you so much for coming in, talking about an inspiring story that you shared with us. Listeners, if you or somebody you know is suffering from addiction, down in the description to the actual show, there will be a link for the National Crisis Center. So feel free to check out that information for more. If you can't find something, shoot me an email and we will get you to the right place. But again, Seth, thank you so much to be able to share your story the way you did, uncensored and just raw and real, was so absolutely inspiring. So I want to thank you for that. And listeners out there, listen, like the show on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Give us a rating if you can, and leave us some suggestions or notes on our website. But I can't leave any episode without asking you one last question. Who dares to take the chair? Will it be you